Hey everybody. So when it rains, it can pour. So yesterday, quite unexpectedly, actually, I say unexpectedly because I have done before I left my job at the pizza company I was working for. Before I put my 2 weeks in or anything like that, I made sure to ask both my mother and my father if it was okay that I quit, and also that I would need help financially, in the future, because I knew I was going to need help buying my herbs and stuff like that. I was going to quit with the pretense that I was going to cut back and get healthier, and they both agreed to that. So I've quit, and I have continued to cut back. I was downing kratom and kava kava and smoking cigarettes pretty much whenever I wanted to. Now I'm down to a much smaller dose of kratom every 4 hours, and I've completely taken out cigarettes, and I completely have taken out kava kava. So I've done a lot better. But I'm still not totally ready to. I was just starting to feel better, but now that this has happened, it's kind of set me back a little bit. But anyway, it is what it is. It all happens for divine timing. And so yesterday, I started noticing, well, it was even before yesterday, a few days ago, I started noticing my dad giving me a glare. And it's the same glare, pretty much the same glare that my brother would give me. And my brother got a job. He's working sales, ADT, something like that, some type of I think it's an insurance or transportation company, something like that. It's supposedly, it's commission, but if he can sell, then he can make some good money. So that's good for him. But like as soon as that happened, my dad started looking at me with like this hate lens, and it's like, okay, dude, you see, the thing that really gets me about this is that my parents care more about them making like an extra month or two in rent off of me while I live in the basement, than they do about me getting sober. Like there hasn't been any talk about how I'm doing with the herbs, the progress I've made, or what could happen to me if I continue to take them. There's been no talk of that at all. It's just been, Brian, we pay for everything. Brian, you're not helping out. Brian, you're not doing anything, essentially. And even though there is evidence that I am doing stuff, I mean, as I share with you guys online, they don't really know anything about it because they don't ask about it. My parents have always been very standoffish when it comes to like getting involved in their children's life. And it's one of the biggest things that I've learned about raising kids, that if I ever have kids of my own, or just for, future generations and future parents to learn from, I would suggest that really spend time to get to know your children. Get to know what's really drives them deep inside. What's their heart's desires? What are their fears? And what are their things that they love most and hate most? Like really spend time getting these things out of them, because that's going to help them in life. Because you, with your wisdom as a parent, you can help guide their dreams and their intuitions and their desires in a good way. But I never had that. My parents tried to force me to go and do athletics and shit like that when I didn't want to. And then I got into the drug scene, and my dad, he pretty much, it feels kind of like they gave up on me. They never tried to like force an intervention. They never really tried to get deep and involved into why I was getting high, or they never did any type of drastic step to try to get me help. I think a lot of that's because I've always been working, and I've always presented myself with, I don't know, I've done some crazy things, but I do always help out around the house, and I try to always stay on top of my morals and ethics. So it's like I may have a bad day or may have some bad emotions, but I don't let shit completely slide. I haven't stolen anything in over 7 years. So, I could see why they weren't super concerned, but at the same time I can't, because I was really sick for a long time, and I'm still pretty sick. And, they don't even really know, because again, they don't care enough to ask. My dad's here all day in this house with me, but he spends it all day in his room watching shows. It's another thing. He's a horrible example of what to do with your spare time. You know, he just goes and he just lays around and he watches TV or he reads a book. That's what he does with his spare time. That's it. Doesn't have a hobby of his own. Doesn't try to communicate with the rest of his family in like a real genuine way. It's just the army fucked him up, I think. I think the army created a person who is afraid to express his emotions and to show his soft side and to open up to other human beings because they've been trained that that's a weakness. And if they do that, then they're not going to be as deadly as a soldier on the field. So I think when these young kids, because my dad got into West Point when he was like 18 and a half, like young, he got a scholarship from high school, went to West Point, and from West Point, he was there for 6 years, or in the army for 6 years, came out as second lieutenant, and he even told me he left because he saw the bullshit. He was tired of the bullshit, you know, and he left, and as soon as he left, he went and started doing like tree planting, and he turned into a hippie pretty much. But, you know, it's hard for me to fathom like what type of sense was in his mind to sell his child Oxycontin when I was 17 years old, man. Like I'm pretty much the same age he is when he did that, and like I would never ever sell my child Oxycontin or tell him that it's okay to take such a powerful painkiller at such a young age. And I'm pretty loose with drugs and shit, but there's certain things you don't cross, man, and especially as a father, there's certain things you don't want to be an example of, and that is being a drug addict, that's being a criminal, that's being a liar, that's being a thief. Like these negative things, if you're a dad, you should probably not do those things, and if you are going to do them, you shouldn't let your son or your children know, because they look up to you. You know, they're the closest thing you have to look up to is your parents. And for a long time I did look up to my dad until I got old enough to see who he really was, and then to be honest, I kind of felt like I started being the father of the family because he's emotionally immature, and he's immature about a lot of things, and he gets angry about stupid shit. I'm just tired of it. Yesterday he made up blatant lies. He said that I tried to blackmail him, which is a complete lie. I've never tried to blackmail my father. And then, you know, it's just like out of nowhere he starts hating on me when I've been very thorough about explaining my situation and making sure it's okay with my parents, because my mom wanted me to find a job before the end of December. And so like 5 days ago, I went and I was like, hey mom, you know, I'm still not totally off the kratom yet, but I'm making good progress. I'm feeling better about my life, but I'm still not ready to work yet because I'm afraid I'll relapse if I start working. I just don't feel ready. And I told her that, and she was like, okay. And so I was like, if you need me to go be homeless, I will, but I'm not going to be able to get a job by the date that you gave me. I told her that, and she was like, okay, well, I think as long as you use your food card, which they made me get a food card. I was like, okay, fine, I'll get a food card. They're like, as long as you use your food card for food, then you should be able to stay here for a while until you're ready to work. So I was like, okay, that was the pretense that I was under, you know, so everything should be good. I've been helping out a lot at the house. I walk the dogs every day, even with a bad back. There's a lot of things I do to help out. And to get met with the type of hostility that I got hit with yesterday, it's a, you see now, you know, it's a spiritual, I mean, everything's spiritual. So this is spiritual warfare that's going on every second of your life, in my opinion, to a greater or lesser degree. Right now with my parents, what's going on is I'm seeing the dark side whispering into their ears, influencing them, and, you know, inspiring them to behave a certain way. And that's why when things like this happen to you, I think it's good if you can to look at things from the perspective of that it's a spirit. It's not actually them. Like they're literally being attacked by an energy pattern that they're not aware of, and that's causing them to behave in a certain type of way. It's really not them. Although they allowed it in, yes, they did. They allowed it in. They have to take accountability for that. It's still not who they really are. Like they're tripping basically. And so as long as you can tell when people are tripping, because they do things like this, they make up lies that completely didn't happen, and they do things that are completely unreasonable and immature. Like my mom and this whole thing, like getting mad at me when I did absolutely nothing wrong. And yeah, if you can look at things with that type of a perspective, it can help. It still hurts, I'm not gonna lie, man. You know, feeling like I got punched all over the face and my heart squenched and trampled on with shit feet, like it does not feel good. And I'm gonna have to go be homeless now. And it's winter here in Oregon, so it's very wet and rainy. And my back, you know, I took a 15-pound pack the other day, and that was enough to really fuck with my back a little bit. So you know, certain things aren't in the best condition for me to do this, but I'm left with no other choice. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna just work on getting the project done and sending that off to investors so that we can get this project moving and I can get working on something that's actually good for myself and the rest of the world, and hopefully be able to offer it to other people in a similar position and see if we can't change some things, and trying to let this get me too down. I got a little bit of a larger kratom dose I set aside for myself this morning, but hopefully I don't continue on that because that's really not good. And yeah, just now again, I'm sorry I haven't got back to any comments. I think about it all the time, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'm sorry. And you know, I don't know where I'd be without this YouTube channel, to be honest, because this is the only place I have to go and truly be myself, and in a place where people, they don't really have a choice, but I can say whatever I want to, and if people want to listen to it, they can. If they don't, that's up to them too. But for those of you who do watch, thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a good day. All right, bye.